New research continues to indicate that people who get COVID booster shots are less likely to be hospitalized or die, especially if they are older or have at risk medical conditions. Vaccine hesitancy continues to grow, and fewer people are taking booster shots. New research is indicating that the new COVID booster shots that are directed against the Omicron variants are not working any better than the original booster shots. Dr. Paul Offit, one of the FDA advisory committee members, says that this is due to something called imprinting. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Dr. David. Want to continue to invite people to join this YouTube channel, join us on our other social media platforms, check out what we're doing over on TikTok, where we're introducing new topics on a very regular basis that are shorter and more to the point of what's happening during the day. So, COVID vaccines, of course, lots of people have their opinions about them. And of course, we were all told that this new COVID booster that's directed against Omicron BA4, BA5 would be superior to the boosters that were based upon the original COVID vaccines. But as we've talked about, that not only is there data suggesting that this may not be true, but furthermore, that information was withheld from the FDA advisory committee, who was making the recommendations as to whether or not they should go forward with this new BA4, BA5 Omicron booster in the first place. Now, this new booster, it has both the BA4, BA5 parts of the spike protein that make it specific towards those subvariants, but it also contained particles that were part of the original COVID vaccine. Now, by the time 10% of the US population had gotten this new and improved booster, already we were seeing subvariants coming out that made immune escape that those newer boosters were not working any better in the first place. Now, Dr. Paul Offit, who is from the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania, he is one of the advisory members for this committee, as I said, that recommends whether to go forward with the vaccines. He certainly is one of America's biggest vaccine advocates, especially for children, and this is beyond for COVID. He is actually somebody who I was impressed because very early on, he went on to publish which vaccines did or did not have mercury in it as mercuries were being removed. And it was actually a valuable resource for me and my patients because, of course, as that mercury was being pulled out, certainly people did not want to be giving their children mercury if they had a choice. So my hats went off for him to actually keeping this updated list year by year. And it was really very helpful back in the day. But it's been over a decade since mercury's been in the vaccines. And so this is not really a relevant point now. Now, one of the things that he did is he voted against this new form of the booster. Okay, and he had presented two different papers that did show that this is actually since the advisories voted for the vaccine, although he voted against it. He has subsequently put forth two additional papers that shows that these new boosters are not working any better than the original boosters, and he said that this is due to something which is called imprinting. So let me explain. Now, because the new vaccine has both the older spike protein version and the newer, but people who had gotten or getting this booster would have already had the original vaccine. And so the imprinting means that people would mount an immune response, not to the BA4, BA5, because this was the first time that many people were seeing it, but in fact, they were developing antibodies against more common regions that are seen throughout all of the different COVID vaccines, not specific to the BA4, BA5. So therefore, he would think that would be the reason why it wasn't working any better, because it really wasn't mounting much of a response, maybe past the initial exposure to the BA4, BA5. But as we know, immunity is very much based on memory. You have to see something more than once to mount this immune response that is sustained for us to have the B cells, the T cells, the proper antibodies, etc. So Dr. Offit, after reviewing all of this information, and this is why I think he is one of the more open-minded and one of the people that I do follow in the mainstream world when it comes to vaccine advice and just data overall, because he'll make statements like this, and I want to quote it just to make sure that I get it right for you. So Dr. Offit said, "Booster dosing is probably best reserved for the people most likely to need protection against severe disease, specifically older adults, people with multiple coexisting conditions that put them at higher risk for serious illness, and those who are immunocompromised. He then went on to argue, in the meantime, I believe that we should stop trying to prevent all symptomatic infections in healthy young people by boosting them with vaccines containing messenger RNA from strains that might disappear a few months later. Now, that's something that I think a lot of people will get behind, and a lot of people have been arguing, but to hear that from Dr. Offit again, that's definitely at another level. Now, in conclusion, and my take on all of this is that, first of all, we now know that 95% of people, this is even back to last April, have antibodies directed against COVID, whether it's from vaccine or whether it's from the wild disease. And since April, of course, many people, if not most, have been reinfected or caught an infection with the Omicron BA4, BA5, and now these newer variants that we've moved on into. In addition, we now have effective oral antiviral properties, medicines, such as Paxlovid, which, while it can give a nasty aftertaste for some people, and yes, there are some people who may be getting rebound, but the thing about rebound is this. By the time you may have a rebound infection, which can happen from COVID too, you have antibodies against that particular virus that you didn't have before, so you're able to fight it off sooner. And of course, those of us in the know here know about the importance of things such as vitamin D and zinc and natural anti-inflammatories like curcumin, omega-3 fatty acids, glutathione, etc. So as we continue to move into this living with COVID phase and away from the running away and hiding from COVID phase, I think it is fair for us all as a nation, as industries, to take a step back and say, what are we doing? Is this something that we need to be continuing to vaccinate and push on the entire population when maybe those who are most at risk is the people who could benefit the most and maybe should be in more consideration of it? Anyways, food for thought. Have a great day.
If you like what you've been seeing, please hit the subscribe button.